Japan is one of the oldest nations on the planet and a country that has deeply rooted spiritual ties. She is indeed not only internationally recognized for its beautiful and fascinating attractions, but also for being one of the most mysterious and haunted destinations on Earth. By the time we reach the 8th destinations, you will be at the edge of your seat. Please, don't freak out.
Number 1 on my list is the Toyama Park. By day, Toyama Park is a nice place to enjoy some greenery, away from the hubbub of central Shinjuku. But some say the area is haunted by its own disturbing history. After Japan's surrender in World War II, Toyama Park became a dumping ground for the remains of prisoners of war. These dead prisoners had been used in gruesome human experiments conducted by Unit 731, the Imperial Army's Biological Weapons Development Division. In the intervening years, the bones of over 100 victims have been unearthed. Nowadays, there are occasional sightings of hitodama, which is will-o'-the-wisps in the park after dark, and it is said that if you climb to the top of the hill known as Hakoneyama, you may hear the anguished sobs of a male ghost echoing through the night.
Number 2 is Sunshine 60. Sunshine 60, located in Ikebukuro's popular Sunshine City, is rumored to be haunted by wartime ghosts. Before constructing this 60-story office and retail complex, authorities used the site for Sugamo Prison. After World War II, U.S. forces imprisoned more than 2,000 Japanese war criminals there. They executed 7 top classes of war criminals, including wartime Prime Minister Hideki Tojo. Since the mid-1970s, construction workers and visitors have reported seeing ghostly apparitions, experiencing accidents, and hearing strange noises in and around the building. Some even claim to have seen floating fireballs at night, making Sunshine 60 possibly the most haunted skyscraper in the world.
Number 3 is the Doryodo Temple Ruins. Doryodo, meaning End of the Road Temple, was established in 1873. In 1963, an 82-year-old woman who was in charge of maintaining the premises was approached by a robber. The woman resisted the criminal and was killed as a result. The temple's meager savings were stolen, and the old woman's body lay where it fell. Almost from the beginning, rumors began spreading among locals of hearing the ghost of the old woman sobbing in the forest. Some say she was crying because she didn't want to die. Others say she was sobbing because she failed to protect the temple's money. Exactly 10 years later, in 1973, a fourth-year female university student had an unfortunate affair with the wrong professor at St. Paul's University. The 38-year-old professor, whose name was Oba Hiroshi, was married with 2 small kids. However, at the time, St. Paul's University had a strict policy against sexual relations between teaching staff and students. When word of the relationship got to the university administration, investigations started, which could have resulted in very strong disciplinary action. It became more complicated when the 24-year-old undergrad confided to Hiroshi of being pregnant and begging him to divorce his wife and marry her instead. Hiroshi's wife, who was also an employee at St. Paul's University, became suspicious of her husband banging a student. She attempted suicide to force her husband to end the relationship. The suicide attempt got his attention, and he apparently wanted to reconcile with his wife, yet he continued to stay in contact with the girl. With the stress from pressure, combined with her medical condition, the poor girl temporarily moved back in with her parents at Shizuoka-ken in Kofu City. She only returned to Tokyo for a scheduled medical checkup at Keio University Hospital. She met some Tokyo family and friends, stayed in contact with her family in Shizuoka, and suddenly, no one heard from her again. On July 20th, 1973, Hiroshi met her at Shinjuku Station and convinced her to follow him to his country home in Yarimizu, Hachioji. After they arrived at the house, he strangled the poor girl to death, then took her lifeless body up the obscure wooded path near the precincts of Doryodo, dug a very shallow grave, and dumped the body and headed back to central Tokyo to meet a colleague. He was vague, but began asking his friend and other people to swear they'd been together all day. His interactions with other people became increasingly suspicious. On the 9th of September, some fishermen in Shizuoka discovered the corpses of 4 bodies. These turned out to be the bodies of the Oba's family, Hiroshi himself, his wife, and their 2 kids. The police assumed he either coerced them to jump off a cliff together into the sea in an act of familial suicide, or he threw them off one by one and then jumped himself. It's hard to say what went down that day since there were no survivors. Many suspect that he realized his colleagues would betray him sooner or later. However, the crime wasn't solved yet. Hiroshi and his family's bodies had been found, but the pregnant 24-year was still missing. 7 months later, a woman's partially mummified body was discovered near Doryodo. 1 month later, it was confirmed of being the body of the missing student. After this discovery, newspapers reported that local people had heard a young woman's voice call out from the woods, that her remains were begging to be found. Locals say you can still hear voices in the area because there might be another body there. The first incident was in 1963. The second incident in 1973. The temple was closed down in 1983. The Japanese word for death sounds like the number 4. So there might have been a fourth incident that is still crying out to be discovered at Doryodo, begging to find peace as well.
Number 4 is the Kiyotaki Tunnel. Although this place is not abandoned, but reputed to be the most haunted location in Japan. Kiyotaki Tunnel has a dark history of brutality during construction, execution, and suicide. There are some witnesses and rumors of various paranormal things going on there. For decades, this tunnel has been a hot spot for those seeking ghosts and paranormal activity. It's a one-way tunnel that connects the road from northern Arashiyama to a city called Sagakiyotaki. It is often closely linked to ghost stories, bad luck, and paranormal activities. The tunnel was originally built in 1927 as part of the Atagoyama Railway and was completed in 1928. Although some people estimate its length to be about 500 meters, many believe that the actual length is 444 meters, a number that represents bad luck in the Japanese culture. It is believed that the process of constructing this tunnel was very formidable because not only were the workers went with unpaid salaries, many were also badly tortured just for being lazy, while others were brutally murdered in the nearby bamboo forest for trying to escape the harsh conditions they found themselves in. Many workers were victims of various accidents as well as suicide cases. Some even say that it's the spirits of the construction workers who died while building this place. Others say that it's darker forces that bring the dead to this area because of some kind of spiritual vortex. One of the taboos that should be avoided when going through the tunnel is to avoid looking at the mirrors around the tunnel and also the mirrors in your vehicle. It is believed that anyone who looks in the mirror, even just glancing, will see a horror entity reflected in the mirror. Whatever the situation, this place is a very creepy place that many people avoid at any cost. However, the way in which the truth of the story of the Kiyotaki Tunnel is still unknown.
Number 5 is the Oiranbachi. Oiranbachi, meaning courtesan's abyss, is a gorge in Yamanashi Prefecture, where locals say the ghosts of 55 brutally murdered women still linger. According to legend, during the Warring States period, the Takeda clan secretly mined gold in the area. They brought in 55 courtesans to entertain the miners. Once the gold ran out, the clan killed the women to keep the mine's location a secret. The clan gathered the women on a platform above the gorge for a performance. As the women danced, the clan deliberately destroyed the platform, sending them plunging to their deaths. The waterfall below swept their bodies away. Today, visitors claim to hear the echoes of the women's final song and their screams as they fell.
Number 6 is the Inunaki Tunnel. The Japanese urban legend of the Inunaki village tells of a remote community hidden in the shadow of Mount Inunaki, Fukuoka, that will murder any outsiders who discover it. The name Inunaki itself is evocative. It literally means howling dogs. In other words, dogs howl when they are either in distress, pain, sickness, or near dead. While the village is almost certainly fiction, its supposed entryway, the Inunaki Tunnel, does exist and has its own all-too-real history of violence and death. In December 1988, a violent gang abducted, tortured, and burned alive a 20-year-old male inside the tunnel. Authorities later sealed off the tunnel, and entry is now prohibited. However, reports persist of electronic and vehicle breakdowns near the tunnel. Those who pass by the moss-covered bricks of the former entrance often describe hearing eerie canine howls and human screams from within. The legend is so prominent in Japan that it inspired a 2019 horror film directed by Takashi Shimizu, Howling Village, a 2016 anime television series, The Lost Village, and the story of the mysterious tunnel manga by Junji Ito. Have you ever had a ghostly experience at a haunted place in Japan? Let us know in the comments. Number 7 is the Nakagusuku Hotel ruins. Nakagusuku Hotel is said to have been ambitiously built in order to house guests visiting for the 1975 Okinawa Oshiya Exposition. Due to its idealistic location portraying lustrous views of the Pacific Ocean, the East Chinese Sea and Nakagusuku Castle, it was believed that the hotel would become a staple for tourism in the area. It was to be built with extensive amenities such as an observatory, a swimming pool, a zoo, and an amusement park, so as to attract as many guests as possible and ensure a unique experience. It's said that prior to the hotel's construction, the developers were warned by monks from a nearby Buddhist temple that the site was home to numerous sacred sites and graves. However, these warnings were ignored. After many construction incidents, the workers refused to continue building as they said the site was cursed. In an effort to save face and avoid bankruptcy, the developer of the Nakagusuku went to the hotel with the intention of staying the night on the unfinished property to prove that the area was not haunted. However, it's said that the next day, he was found insane and disappeared soon after. Other rumors state that the hotel was actually in operation for 2 months, and during that time a child drowned in the pool. Following this incident, it is said that people were plagued by the hauntings of a crying child whenever they visited, thus affecting business and forcing the hotel into bankruptcy. It's said that even today upon visiting Nakagusuku Hotel, you can still hear the cries of a small child.
And number 8 is the Memorial Forest. Memorial Forest is one of the most tragic locations on this list. While the validity of spiritual occurrences is debatable, the devastating impact on the lives of those related to the victims of this disaster are very much real. In 1971, an all-Nippon Airways plane en route from Sapporo to Tokyo abruptly collided with in-training self-defense force aircraft, causing the immediate combustion of the airliner, resulting in one of the most horrible aircraft disasters in the history of Japan. Each person aboard the flight lost their lives, and it was said that the bomb-like sound from the crash could be heard as far as 20 kilometers away. To honor the lost souls of the 162 people aboard All Nippon Airways, Flight 58, the prefecture, erected a memorial in their name. Due to the nature of the harrowing event that took place there, the area is often regarded as one of the most haunted and spiritualistically dangerous places in Japan. It is not recommended to visit past sunset.